Stick around to the end as I give you a rather common scenario to a situation that you may find yourself in, or something similar. Now, let's start the show.
2 months ago, you and your wife, you split, and she wanted a divorce. You have 2 kids, and one of you moves out of the house. Let's say that she did, because contrary to popular belief, the female moves out just as much as a man does. Now, next month's your son Jack's 6th birthday, and she says to you as if nothing ever happened,
"Hey, you want to celebrate little Jack's birthday together?"
You're like, fuck man, now what? You're stuck. You say no, and you feel like a bad dad because you won't be there for his birthday. But you say yes, and you feel like you're both kissing her ass, and in all reality, you're doing it for the wrong reason, because if you did it, it would be to get back with her, and you may just make yourself miserable and ruin everyone else's fun. But the bigger question is, if you and your ex, if you could ever become friends after marriage. Can you? Should you? Let's find out, and let's start revving that engine. So the short answer here to going to Jack's birthday along with being friends with your ex, it's no. At least not now. The benefits, they just don't outweigh the heartache. And I understand that there's a lot to take into account here, but at least not at first. You have to get your own life figured out first, and then you can move on from there. Now, in an ideal world, you can and you should remain civil, but right now during the divorce, with a few exceptions, about 90% of you should just leave it as amicable, defined as in the spirit of friendliness without serious disagreement or any rancor. Amicable. The thing is that you're not only breaking a contract, you're also breaking some very significant vows, and they're going to get heated and emotions, they're going to get triggered. What I often see in men is that their ex, she starts being nice to you, but often you're going to misinterpret a lot of her actions by thinking that she's trying to get back with you. She's just being nice, and unfortunately, you feel like you're getting some mixed signals here just because she's being nice. And it sucks. I know we try to find so much significance in something that's so simple as just a simple smile, but that's the reality. Here's what typically happens when you try to remain friends, but you're still in love with your ex. She invites you to Jack's party, and you show up, but she has control over the entire thing. So you showing up it's only in body, but not in mind, and you're merely just a shadow of yourself. You're insecure. She tells you what to do, where to go, and you come out soft, almost ashamed and actually embarrassed. Now this party, it becomes more about your relationship than it does about your son's or your daughter's, for that matter's, birthday. Plus, did you stop to even consider that your ex, maybe she was just being nice and she didn't really want you to go? Maybe it's a little of both, it's my guess. Then as you continue to try and remain friends, she starts asking for favors and demands certain things from the divorce, and you give in. You give in to her every word and look at the meaning of things like, what does that mean? Why is she being so nice to me? Is she trying to get back with me? As it happens, about 20% of couples, who knows? You might even have sex again, but the cold reality is the fact that you once had her heart. Now she just loans you her body, all cold. She won't even look at you in the eyes. So you go from feeling joyous and invigorated, but only to see that it's just purely physical, and she tells you that it was a mistake. Fact is that breakups, they're like moving a refrigerator. It often takes more than one push to get it going.
As I studied divorce men, I created a quality of life survey, and what was found was that there are 4 substantial, very significant factors that contribute to a better quality of life, and by a large margin. And it wasn't time. In fact, time is the independent variable. It's the status quo. Waiting for time is the same thing as wasting your time. Waiting for time, it's just inertia. The 4 factors that you have to do to thrive in a post-divorce world, and set in no particular order, and probably the first one is the hardest, is to achieve a significantly higher income. Second is to love who the fuck you are. In other words, putting yourself first, man, and you do that, and people are naturally going to gravitate towards you. Third, and this is what gets me in trouble, because people think that, well, this is all I focus on, but I focus in all 4 of them, and that's success in dating. Now, even though you're not ready to date, having a success in this apartment, it substantially lowers your anxiety level, because you already know that you're going to be okay, that you're going to come out fine, and you're going to meet somebody substantially higher than you thought. And fourth, it's embracing the bachelor lifestyle. You take care of them, and you're going to rise to a level that's much higher than even before you were previously married. Here's the data of men separated from 0 to 3 months. The quality of life is 57 versus those separated for 2 or more years, and their quality of life is 72, or an overall change of 15 points. They scored 1 standard deviation higher, 1 standard deviation in 1 year.
But get this. Of the men who were trying to continue something with their ex, regardless of time, it could be the first months, and in some cases even over 2 years of separation, their quality of life was 47. But of the men who said, fuck it, cry 2 tears in a bucket, and they embraced their singlehood, their quality of life, it was 76. Again, regardless of the time separated. So 47 versus 76 gives you a delta of 29, or almost 3 standard deviation difference. The men who thrive after divorce, they're those who just surrender to the situation, and they embrace their new reality that they're now single, that they don't have ties to their ex, and that they can do what and whomever the fuck they wish to get to that point. You're gonna have to take a change of paradigm, and to get to a change in paradigm, it's gonna take self-awareness and growth. And to get to that point, well, that's what I work on with my clients. But to get to that point, you're going to have to establish some barriers with your ex. That means that you're going to have to establish barriers within yourself, and you're going to have to give yourself not what you want, but rather what you need. And you're going to have to respect yourself enough to, so much that she has no choice but to return that respect back to you.
In case you don't know my story, or resume as I call it, well, and this is the part I really hate, but I have to quantify my wife number 1 and the number 2. Now, first divorce, I wanted it. I take full ownership and culpability on it, and I also made the stupid mistake of thinking that we can continue to be friends, and it did bite me in the ass because, well, my ex, I underestimated her. She was calculating and way ahead of me, and frankly, in hindsight, she did the smart thing. It took me a while for us to file, and she pretended to care, and she was plotting against me, and frankly, I blame myself for being so damn naive. I thought that we could be friends, and well, we eventually did become friends, but it took years to get there. Now, as for the number 2, she's not a stranger to me. We never had kids, and the day I found out about her philandering, I made a conscious decision and say that if I ever took her back, I would never love the person that I see in the reflection of a mirror. So I did what I needed to be done, and I erased her from my life. It was almost Darwinian. As I was trying to find myself, my no-nonsense, no bullshit approach brother, he laid it straight, and he just said, dude, you come from one relationship to another, you haven't been single. You got your shit together. You go to the gym, you got a good career, but when it comes to relationships, you're pretty weak at that. Why don't you just be a bachelor and enjoy it? Dude, help me out. I liked his style, so we went shopping, and I tried new things that I would never try, like rings, bracelets, even the beard, which I'm not a beard guy.
I embrace being single to its core. It was now my reality. It was who I was for the moment. A single, career-oriented bachelor who promised himself to grow, but to do that, I had to surrender. I had to erase any communication from her. I looked single, my house looked single, my food, it looked single, my outfits looked single, my body looked single, my car looked single, even my kids, even they looked single. And she, in turn, she was way easier to forget than I thought because I was too busy becoming uber focused on me. I went back to my roots and to who I really was, but this time with resources and the hindsight of knowledge. I focused on what I had going for me, all my talents, all my resources made palpable, and then I just took them to the stratosphere. I had been meditating for 2 years, and it was the best thing I did because to be able to control your thoughts, it's a freaking superpower. But I didn't stop there. I wanted to be that guy, you know the Harvey Specters of the world from Suit, witty, articulate, with balls of steel. But I also wanted the sex appeal of Jacob Palmer from Crazy Stupid Love. But at the time I was Cal Weaver, and worse, I was twice divorced, and even worse, I was an alcoholic in recovery. I could have never achieved something so badass if I stayed friends with my second wife.
I was a peacock, and I wanted to fly, so I made myself a priority. And of all people, you know who reaped the benefits the most? My kids. They got a crash course in what becoming a man meant. We hurt, we're genuine, we're honest, we care, love, and when done correctly, We demand that this gets reciprocated. And of course, I want to. The best part is that I didn't have to ask for permission for shit. Her opinion, it no longer mattered. I hated the way she would ridicule me and as I tried new things because you know what I noticed? That towards the end of our relationship, she never clapped when I had a win. I became, for a lack of a better word, de-pussified. So you know how often your ex, how she's demanding a divorce and she's a total bitch to you? Use that. Use that in your favor. I did. The fact is that when she was becoming verbally abusive, it worked in my favor because I no longer had a choice but to move forward. Had she been nice or even neutral towards me, it would have slowed my progress. So men, if she treats you like shit, just smile, look at the human, recognize that she's just making your job so much fucking easy.
But I digress. You must have established boundaries with your ex, at least at the beginning, because, well, one fake friend can cause more damage than 5 enemies in your life. She has to earn your trust again. Let her feel your absence. Make it real for her. For a few years now, your ass, it's been puckering up and kissing her ass. And it's time to take a step back and realize that it's your world you live in and that others, including myself, that we're just visiting you. Make your ass a priority. You're going through some crazy ass trauma right now. You need to grieve and recover from that loss. Go through the denial and angry phase, and that's something that you can't do if you're still friends with your ex. You need time away from your spouse to figure out who you are without them, to build your own identity as a solo man without influence from her, because then you'll never find yourself. Even if you start dating, especially if you start dating, because you'll never be your own man, because someone else will now get in the way of your development. As time goes and the dust settles, maybe 2 to 3 years, you can start to become friends again. Because don't get me wrong, I strongly believe that men and women can be friends and that you should become friends with your ex as best as you can and try it all matter.
Now, it took the better part of the divorce for my first wife and I to begin the process of reestablishing trust. It took a few years for her to get invited to enter the inside of my house, and soon enough, though, on isolated occasions, we did celebrate Christmases together. Now, as weird as it sounds, the first part of asking yourself if you're able to be friends with your ex is if you could see her naked without any temptation to jump on top of her and do her. Can you remain platonic? From there, then you have to ask yourself how you could regain mutual trust. And for many of us, it's not a lack of trust that we have with our ex. It's way more pernicious than that. You distrust your ex because it turns out that the person that you would have taken a fucking bullet to ended up being the one that pulled the trigger on you. She stabbed you in the back. So you have a choice. You can either choose to stay bitter and angry, but if you have kids, it's going to be easier, much easier, to earn each other's trust. Now, I know that's easier said than done, and I'm perfectly aware of that, but for many of you, you're stuck for at least a decade having to take care of your kids, and you might as well begin trying to work together. Now, I often get men upset at their exes, not only because it was their decision to split, but also to add insult to injury. She took what you feel is rightfully yours, much of your wealth, the house, the retirement, and it gets cut in half, and worse. Not only do you have to pay child support, you also have to pay alimony, which is bullshit. She walked out on you and you're stuck paying the bills, and worse, she won't accept any responsibility for it. That's welfare.
As I coach men, it's understandable that they're upset about having to pay for what I consider karma money. But I think of my second wife as she took what was my retirement and I consider my children's inheritance. And for a time, it looked as though she was going to get away with the raping of my income. And I remember how horrible I felt having the possibility of her taking the money to feed her self-described gambling addiction. So I spoke with my first wife and I began establishing trust because I knew that if my first wife were to speak to my second wife about my finances, it was ultimately going to hurt her 2 boys. But I told my second wife when it looked like I was fucked, go ahead and keep your blood money. But I feel sorry for you because that money is the most you'll ever see in your lifetime. But for me, it's just my scraps and I'll make it back. You can have my money, but just know that you're going to pay with it. Pay with it with your soul. Ultimately, it didn't go that far, and I found a loophole. Thank God she dropped the case. But to those that may end up having to pay for their exit decision to leave, take solace knowing that in the end, that house you built, that it may be hers physically in a mortal sense, but it's your children's in spirit, because when it comes to inheritance, 9 out of 10 times, your kids, they will inherit. And that's an easier pill to swallow than someone having to pay for some 2-bit Yahoo who got married and had no kids with them. Gentlemen, one thing I can promise you, right now, you're probably thinking that your ex, that she's the most beautiful woman in the world, and you're questioning how you could have let her go. I'll be the first to tell you that this is both from personal experience and professional experience. The day will come when you'll see your ex as a mere mortal, old and flawed. It was your love that made her special. The day will come where you'll look at her as someone regular, and the day will come where you wouldn't touch her if she begged you. And not because you feel it's wrong, but, well, because you just don't want to. It would be weird, and she kind of grosses you out. She'll appear washed up to you. Maybe that's when you can begin the healing process in repairing your relationship with them. But until then, I wouldn't try, not even for your kids. Your kids, they need a stable man in their life, and being screwed up in the head, it's not going to help anyone. I hear so many guys say that they're doing it for their kids, and I asked them to reassure me that this is the real reason why they're doing it, only to have them talk to me a few months later saying that it was their cognitive dissonance, that it was them lying to themselves, that they tried to be friendly with their ex. And now they end up all angry that the fact that they have to start all over because they tried to have a relationship with their ex, and the reality it was done.
Gentlemen, divorce, it's all bullshit. You're paying for someone's decision to break their contract, and I don't know about you, but if I have a contract with a company and I decide to terminate it early, I pay the penalties, not them. To me, it's obvious, but the laws, they allow our spouses to get away with this. Oh, I know you're mad, but you can't live your life angry, because experience has taught me that, well, the person who loses out with their kids is the spouse that handles the divorce the hardest, be it denial, anger, depression. It does not matter. Your kids, they'll just get weirded out and gravitate towards the more stable parent. If you're going through a divorce, it's essential, it's imperative that you look for professional help. I'm not only a divorce coach, but I'm a divorce and recovery coach, meaning that I'll help you in your recovery as a newly single male. I'll help with the damage and destruction that divorce causes, and you'll find them beautiful balls that you lost. I'll help you get your life back in order, and just make a simple appointment. So first, join the fastest growing men's divorce support group on Facebook, and second, make a one-on-one, because these meetings, they'll help you regain some confidence, and I wouldn't be doing this at all if I did not believe that I was the best. You can find the link for both in the comment section underneath. Thank you very much. Oh, what? The scenario, that's right. Gosh, that episode kicked my ass. I don't know if you could see, but I was starting to sweat towards that ending. I wanted to share with you a scenario that happens often, and it just happened as I was writing this show. For reasons of confidentiality, some unimportant details, they've been changed, but not the narrative. Not the narrative. I was having a one-on-one with a client, and because all my one-on-ones are done through Zoom, the client, he was taking inside his car. That way he can speak comfortably without anyone here. Then he sees his ex walking towards the car. Now keep in mind that they filed, they have attorneys, and they're cohabitating. But he's clearly nervous as he sees her walking up. She knocks on the door. "Hey, what you doing?" she asks, in a rather friendly yet I don't know what he's up to kind of way. He responds with, "Talking to Mom." But it was in a way that it was exactly the way he was saying it. In other words, he was coming up with this shit at a whim.
As a coach, I asked him what he's going to say. When she begins asking further questions and further questions and further questions, he said he wasn't sure yet and he was going to have to think about it. Bro, here's the beauty of your situation, and perhaps it hasn't hit you. You don't have to be scared anymore. You don't have to make shit up to hit her narrative anymore. First, when you go back inside for your safety, begin recording just in case things get out of hand and cops be called. That way they could see that you didn't do anything. And second, if she asks, just tell her the truth. Let her know that you were speaking to a counselor that you had an appointment with and you've been wanting to talk to one. I mean, it was her mess that got you here in the first place. No need to start making shit up. There's nothing that you need to feel guilty about, nor nothing to hide. Gentlemen, if it hasn't hit you, start setting barriers with your ex. Let her know and feel your absence. Let her know that there are certain things that no longer any of her business. But I'd like to hear from you. What would you have done in that situation? And of course, put it in the comment section. And then after that, join our free Facebook group and make a one-on-one with me. Now, thank you very much. Ba, 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 ba.